The World Laureates Summit convenes in Dubai today alongside the World Government Summit, and that's of course marking a historic integration of science and government. These events bring together laureates of the Nobel, Turing, Wolf, as well as Lasker Prizes, along the recipients of other prominent scientific honors, as well as heads of state, ministers, and leaders from international organizations and enterprises. Let's get more on this for you. We're joined by Professor Abdon Atangana from the Institute for Groundwater Studies at the University of the Free State. Thank you so much for your time, Prof. So there's a lot to unpack around this. Let's start with the role of STEM in Africa's development, particularly when we look at research and innovation as you become drivers of sustainable growth in the African continent.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you for the listener also. The question you asked is very important. You will see that in Africa, the production of knowledge is 1%. compared to the rest of the world. For example, China is 25%, and it is clear, it is the reason why we can see that the development in Africa is a little bit slow, because too much new research, too much new result, too much new technology is not being developed in Africa. And when you look at the other countries like China, and you look at the other countries like South Korea, you will see that they put a lot of effort in producing new knowledge, and they transform that knowledge into technology. That is why they are where they are now.
And you talk of developments, particularly when we hone into the African continent. So many conversations have been had as a build-up to that, and we are seeing progress, albeit at a slow pace. Let's talk about what really needs to be done, particularly when we look at this continent and how it's developing in the front of some of the conversations that are being had where you are at this moment.
You know, according to me, if I was in charge, the first thing is to stop being dependent. We should stop being dependent of the other country. We should stop consuming science that is being developed in other country. So what we are supposed to do is to put more effort in developing our own technology that is suitable for Africa, using the results that are produced by our own scientists as the other countries are doing. And more importantly, stop putting too much effort on things that are not important for the development of our continent. For example, sport, and put more effort in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I can tell you, when you look at the budget of China, or when they allocate budget per year, you will notice that they put more funds to support STEM, which is not actually the case in our continent. Let me tell you, I was sitting next to a Nobel Prize today, and he told me, "You are too young, you are very young, how did you find yourself here?" And I explained to him, and he told me that his government put a lot of effort on him, lot of capacity they built around him, and he has a very big team. That is why he arrived there. And he asked me, "What is the size of your team?" I told him, "I work alone." And he was disappointed. So we need to put more effort in science to develop our continent.
And we have a great continent that needs to be fully developed, especially when we look at research and looking at the role that research plays in ensuring that we have, an Africa that is able to have solutions tailor-made for the continent itself. Let's zone into some of the challenges. I know you've touched on a few, Prof, there, and I know that underfunding is one of those challenges that you face, but also a lack of mentorship also poses a stumbling block, especially when we look at the next generation of researchers who raise their hands and say, "Look, we are willing to lend a hand." But when it comes to them being mentored and shaped to be the best researchers, that's also another thing. Can you just perhaps further expand on some of those challenges?
Yes, this is very important. In all the country, they prepare the next generation. And somebody like me, I work alone and I work hard to reach where I am. And what I'm doing every day is to prepare the next generation by supervising PhD from all Africa, by supervising master students from all Africa. And you cannot only supervise, you need a support to supervise those students, to expose them. Sometimes I use my own phone to go with my students abroad for them to see what is happening in the rest of the world. So as you said, we need to prepare the next generation, and the government, African government, have to put a lot of funds for this to be done. If you go to other countries, you will see that they prepare generation by generation, they make sure that in the next 5 years, these people will replace maybe the top mathematician, the top physicist, and it is what we are supposed to do in Africa. So in my capacity as a young scientist, it is what I do every day. Sometimes I use my own resource, and I think that it's time for the government to understand that we cannot reach where we want to reach if they don't come in. So that is the only thing I can say for the moment.
And what you're saying right now, Prof, also speaks to us requiring, a shift from individual training to more deliberate, more systematic, as well as collaborative, as well as open science-driven approaches. When we look at the institutions, such as the institution that you also represent, which has been hailed as one of the greatest as well when it comes to research, how do we really carry this conversation forward when we look at where we're going insofar as research is, but also just looking at where research comes from, where it is now, and where it's headed?
One of the ideas as a mathematician, I preach unity. If Africa can be united and we create a center, for example, a center that will produce best mathematicians in Africa. We create a center that will produce best physicists, best chemists in Africa. And I try myself, to build a center of industrial and applied mathematics, and I think that the government have to come in for us to do this. So collective effort from researchers, collective effort from the government, and from people that are in charge, policy maker, then we can reach where we want to reach. But for the moment, I don't see too much effort being put in STEM. That is the reason why we are where we are now.
And interestingly, we're also seeing Africa slowly being recognized, as I did mention a bit earlier on. Case in point would be your participation right now in the World Laureates Summit. Let's talk about that and what this moment means for research.
No, it is a clear indication that African people have talent. Like myself, why am I here? I'm here not because it is because I contributed in mathematics. Let me explain to you what I did in mathematics. There is what they call derivative, and the derivative is used to build what they call differential equation. Those differential equations are used to solve problem, to model problem in real world. And what was introduced before was introduced by Newton, and Newton introduced this for us to understand what means, for example, acceleration, to understand what means velocity, and how can we build a small equation to represent a real world problem. And sometimes when you go to the field, you take data and you model those data. You notice that the derivative that was introduced by Newton is not accurate in terms of predicting process that has crossover behavior. So I introduced a new concept that they call fractional derivative with non-singular kernel. It is named after me. So that is the reason why that invited me here. And the whole world is using it. If you put my name, for example, on Google, you will realize that I introduced concept they call fractal fractional, differential operator, integral operator. They are using it to solve many real problems. So I think that African people has talent, but the only problem is that we don't have support. Imagine there is a race and there are some people having shoes and we are going without shoes. What will happen? I'm proud of myself because I arrived where I am without wearing shoes. So I was running the race without shoes. So I'm pretty sure that if they put more effort in terms of supporting us, giving us funding, we will be where the other people are. Thank you.
All right, Thomas, thank you so much for your time and insights on the program. That's Professor Abdon Atangana from the Institute for Groundwater Studies at the University of the Free State. Thank you so much for your time on the program.